Hi everybody, I just wanted to walk you through a few things in the course. There have been some questions and some confusion about specific tasks, especially the Weebly work. And what I want to do is kind of go through and give you an overview of how the course works, because it's laid out in such a way that if you follow through the content sequentially as it appears in the content, checklist in order and everything, it should be fairly straightforward. And this is a course that I've taught a few times, and it's been refined a little bit each time I've taught it. It is more challenging in this 7-week semester, I understand, to keep on top of everything. But here is the initial video, which made a quick overview of what you needed to be doing to kind of keep up with things in the course, and then a very careful step-by-step text version of the same thing. And I would suggest that if you're feeling confused, revisit this and read through this again carefully. I noticed a question this morning on the discussion board about the first essay, for example. I'll show you the assignment sheet for that again, but also be sure to review this stuff on how this assignment can be tricky. And I've gone through, and when I've commented on your specific topics, I've tried to identify where, if you might be going the wrong way on that essay, where you can straighten up and try to get back on track. So here is a content area of the course. And again, this is where you really need to live in this course. If you have to go to another area of the course, I'll tell you in that week's announcement. But really, this lays out everything from top to bottom. So the first thing to do if you're feeling a little bit confused is to revisit this. Here's the syllabus, which lays everything out. Student resources and responsibilities. Again, we talked about that a little bit the very first week. The grading criteria for the essays, this is a useful thing to review as you pull together your final drafts, because I will apply this to each essay. The specific criteria under each of these categories might change a little bit depending on the assignment, but essentially it's going to be the same. And here's the rubric for grading discussion boards. This is what you want to review before you post, because it gives you really the details about what I look for when I evaluate these, including the number of follow-up posts. If I don't specify a number, this tells you exactly how many to do to get full credit. Unit 1 is where we are right now, and you'll notice each unit begins with a general area, which will give you an overview of the unit and include an assignment sheet for the essay you'll be working on during that unit's work. And then you have each week's work laid out here. Now you notice each week's work is divided into 2 parts. This is partially because in a 15-week course, each of these would be 1 week worth of work. So this is an easy and convenient way for us to make sure we're covering the right amount of content in the course, because we have to cover absolutely everything we would cover in a 15-week course, which is one of the reasons a writing course, especially in these short semesters, can feel overwhelming, especially if you're taking other courses, if you've got other obligations like a job or something. It takes a lot of time. If you look at 6 hours a week of what would normally be sitting in class, plus the 2-3 hours a week per hour that you do in homework, you're looking at, to be honest, on the conservative side, 18 hours of work a week. And if you're not putting in that time and you're feeling behind or lost, that will be part of the issue. So here are the details in the exploring writing, writing to explore. These are the details on this first assignment. Now it points you toward the scenarios in your text, and I've tried to integrate these writing assignments as closely with your text as possible, especially this one, just to try to make it as easy as possible for you to keep up to speed on it. Now I will say again, as I've said again several times already, you need to be doing the reading in the book, and you need to read it carefully. You need to make sure you understand it. You can skim over the examples, the sample essays and things like that, unless I assign them specifically, which I will do from time to time. But in terms of the actual content, you have to read that carefully. That is your lecture for the course. I will post brief presentations summarizing things for you. But for example, this first writing assignment, you need to really read those scenarios carefully. You want to be careful that this does not become an informative essay or a persuasive essay. It is an exploratory essay. Here is the page count on this essay, and then the nuts and bolts down here walk you through some of the specifics for the essay. So again, look at this carefully. You've got your due dates and everything right there. So be sure you review that carefully. Getting into each week's work, what you want to do each week is just dive into the checklist right away. And the checklist will outline what has to be done. So week 1, we've got the syllabus and all the other reading for that. Chapter 1, and then the discussion outlines, and then getting set up on the Weebly. First thing to do if you start getting confused is to come back and revisit these. Now, people have noticed that some of these links don't always work. I've tried to go through and fix them, but if they don't, I always link whatever is in the checklist over here in the module directly as well. It may be as these have copied from course to course, they haven't really updated correctly. So you'll always find what you need over here. So here's a week 1 discussion link to what we're looking at for that first Weebly creation, and then the creating of the Weebly. I'm going to show you an example Weebly in just a second as well to show you how that works. As we get into the second checklist, we will look at what the process posts are going to look like. Now, here is where a few people have had questions, trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing with these process posts. Well, the very first process post is actually outlined in detail back in this module, so this should be clear. And the explanation for what a process post is here as well. A process post is a reflection on the work you've done. If I don't give you a specific prompt, then the thing to do is when you finish your work for the day, take a few moments and just go into your blog and reflect on how things went. This is a proven method of getting you to think more carefully about how you write, what's working for you and what isn't working for you. And this is a good model to follow for these. What was most useful, what worked best for you today while you were working, which is a minute paper, which is described in your text. And then what didn't work well, what was confusing, where did you struggle as you wrote. A lot of times this helps you diagnose issues in your writing process, things in how you're writing that might actually be a barrier to your writing. Okay, so again, the week 2 assignment laid out the same way. Here's your checklist, step by step, what needs to be done. Now here is another new page which goes on to your Weebly. So right now you will have the Essay 1 brainstorming page. You will also have the blog page. And then here again, if you're following this step by step, when you come to this, it says create a new page on your Weebly site right here. So what you will have now are 3 pages. This resource page is a place for you to share links and share resources that you find as you explore your topic, expanding your exploration beyond your own brainstorming. So again, if you're following the checklists carefully, and again, you've got to read it carefully. You've got to take your time and really read the stuff carefully. If you get stuck, revisit the checklist. I'm happy to answer questions, but there's a delay when you ask. You ask the question, and it might be the next day before I reply. So try to work through these step by step, and you can actually check them off as you finish them. So here is what the process journal is going to look like for that. And that goes onto your blog, your process journal that you created. So that's the second page you created last week. And then the resource page will be a third page. And then what the process posts will look like for this week. And again, this is reflections on your work. So it's all there in these checklists. And you'll notice things just follow sequentially through. Now, one thing you will notice as well, now that's the last time I'll say you'll notice something, because I've repeated that phrase about a dozen times, is that you can get in and look at what is coming up for the next weeks, but you cannot get into those discussion boards, okay, typically. And the reason for this is you can't really work ahead in the discussions in the course. That would be like, I don't know, walking into the room in a face-to-face class and sitting by yourself and talking about what everyone else is going to be talking about the week after. So you can read ahead, and that's why I do open up the links. I've got the week 3 stuff open for you, so you can look ahead and decide what is going to be coming up, know what's going to be coming up, decide how to structure your time. But you can't really work ahead in terms of getting in and posting your work to the discussion boards. So that is why some of you may come down here and start clicking and not know what's going on. I know some online courses allow you to do the work at your own pace. Because of the conversational element of these discussion boards, we can't do that. I can let you work ahead some on the reading, but in terms of the weekly discussions, we've got to do those together, and that's why those will always be opened up when that week actually begins. So that is it. This is really the way to keep straight in this course. Now let me quickly show you. Santino very kindly posted an overview of a summary, sorry, of the Weebly work from the various checklists. I'm sorry, I'm talking while I'm clicking here. From the various checklists in the course. And if you're getting stuck, you can look at that in the help forum. I've been referring people back to those checklists, but what Santino did, I think, is very, very helpful. And you will see here his Weebly site, what he's got here. I'm not going to click through the specific ones, although I guess these aren't really confidential because the links are all in that discussion board. But you're going to see he's got his 3 links here. The first week's brainstorming activities, the process journal. So each time you are working on your process journal, you will go in and create a new paragraph. Clicking on that, I'll show you that in just a second, and then add that session's reflection there. Then the Essay 1 resources is where you're going to be sharing your links. So this is what the top bar of your Weebly site should look like by the end of this. Now let me come back into my own Weebly site. Whoops. Just remember my password correctly here. I thought I had logged on, and I should have, but I had not. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this video here. I will log into my Weebly site, and I'll quickly walk you through that process of the menus in Weebly. I've got an initial video which walks you through a lot of the Weebly stuff, but I'll do that separately just so we can keep those 2 things straight. So I'll be back in just a second with your Weebly walkthrough part 2.